an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering One Piece, episodes 105 and 106. In these episodes, our friends finally get to the town ruled by Crocodile and get split up immediately, and it goes better than I expected, which is really saying something considering that they mostly wound up captured by Crocodile. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha. Thank you so much to Gabriela for commissioning this episode. Gabriela, if you are here in the chat, hi. These episodes are another, it's really funny because at this point, I'm sure I'm not alone in this. Once our friends get to a town that has any number of people in it, I'm saying that because, we've been to a few towns now, which have been essentially abandoned. But if we get to a town that has an actual bustling population, especially if we add in the restaurants factor, it's pretty much a given at this point that Luffy is going to get separated from the rest of the crew. And in this episode, that doesn't exactly happen, which I thought for sure would happen when it is suggested that they all split up and Luffy goes by himself, catapulting to the top of the building. I thought for sure, oh, okay, here it is. Luffy is by himself now. Not so. I will say, I don't remember if we have seen his balloon landing method before. And I feel like I asked about this I can't remember this. It rings a faint bell, but I gotta be honest, you guys. I have such a bad memory for the things that I say on the show. I will swear I said something and nobody seems to know what I'm talking about. Or I have been getting comments on old episodes from people who are clearly quoting me. And I don't remember saying that. In a couple cases, I've been like, oh, that's actually pretty deep. But I just genuinely don't remember saying it. So every time that I start to be like, did I call this? When I say that with that tone of voice, I'm not being coy. I genuinely don't remember. So if I didn't call it, that's fine. I will be willing to let go of that credit. I'm asking, did I say something about a balloon thing or wanting to see it or asking if he could do this? I don't know. His stretchiness. I gotta say, guys, you wouldn't think if somebody asked you what power you want out of a grouping of these, that stretchiness would be as useful as it is. But I'll be damned. It just keeps giving. It's just a very useful, it lends itself to a variety of uses, violent and non-violent, and there's something about it that almost feels similar to Captain Smoker, because Captain Smoker can reach out from himself using the smoke, right? And turn his body into smoke. So there's a similar thing there with being able to take damage or completely avoid damage, being able to grab things that are far away from you, whether that be an enemy or the remote. Either way, it works out. And I just really wonder, when Oda chose the stretching power for Luffy, what was the mindset behind that? Guys, just out of curiosity, at this point in the show, I know that there have been filler episodes for the show, which means that they were slowing things down so that they wouldn't overtake the manga. That's usually why that's done, right? Where are we in terms of the manga's run at this point? Has it been years by now? Or I don't know. And I'm sorry, I'm pretty sure that you guys have told me about this, but I don't remember because it's such an unfamiliar concept to me. The show doesn't have seasons, but I'm not positive. Is that because it simply isn't broken up that way narratively? Or do they not take breaks? It just ran all year without fail, right? Is that what it is, pretty much? And was it that way with the manga also? Apologies again, guys, if I have forgotten some things that you think I should remember. But welcome to the club. I think I should remember things, too. So anyway, I'm just wondering how much of Luffy's power did Oda basically map out before starting the story? Because I can't help but feel like this might not, like, certain abilities might not come up until way later because it never occurred to Oda. Or, you know, I could see talking to people who read it and being like, can he do this? And Oda being like, I don't see why not, actually. And then deciding to fold something in that wasn't originally part of the plan. And I mean, I'm sure that could happen with other characters that have powers as well, but obviously Luffy being the main character that we see. Ryan says the manga started in 1997. Right, but like, how is the show broken up, and how is the manga broken up? Like, does the manga come out all year long? Does the show come out all year long? Bernadette says the mangas are basically a collection of chapters which are published every week or every other week, so no seasons and no breaks. God damn, no breaks. All right. The show and manga both release chapters and episodes weekly. In the manga, the East Blue Saga is 100 episodes, so at least 100 weeks. So we're at least 2 years in. Okay. Ryan says, in general for manga, you publish a new chapter every week with occasional breaks. Okay, so this was sort of an outlier in that there were no breaks at all, if I'm understanding correctly. Which, I mean, like, honestly, the rate of production on every level for this is just so baffling to me. Go ahead, why not? Don't take breaks. Sure. You know, like... All right, so getting into the episode itself, I got to tell you guys, the one thing that has been a challenge with switching over to watching the dub instead of the subtitles is the fact that I was warned by Florian the episode titles are often loaded with spoilers. So when I was watching the subtitled version, all I had to do was just not look at the screen. And ta-da, I missed whatever the spoiler was. But when I'm watching the dubbed version, I just start like yelling at my cat to sort of cover up whatever he says. So it'll be like, episode 105, Luffy and the pals go to the ocean and somebody kills somebody. And I'm just like, hey, Ripley, you're really cute. You're very fat. You have a very fuzzy belly. Look at you rolling around with your fuzzy belly. You're so adorable. Okay, it's over. Okay. And then I can like tune back in. I have to distract myself so that I don't accidentally hear a spoiler. And let me tell you guys, it is wild how I can be like just out here talking and saying a full sentence and my brain can still start to process whatever it is he's saying. Really drives me nuts. Bernadette says Oda works like crazy. He sleeps 3 to 4 hours a day since years. This is what some people will like, you know, they will credit their success to barely sleeping. Can't relate. Martha Stewart was like this also. Like allegedly slept like 4 hours a day. And I remember like hearing that and thinking maybe I can get that to work for me. Nah, friends, it's not for me. Not happening. I just, and is that true? Like, I always wonder, how accurate is that? You know? Because then there will be time, like, do any of you use Apple Watch to track your sleep, because I've been doing that for health reasons. And I will swear that I slept like 8.5 hours, and that shit will tell me I slept 6 hours. So there's that too, where I will sometimes overestimate. Gus says there are breaks for some holidays in the Olympics. Oh yeah, that makes sense. And some other stuff, but usually there aren't many breaks. Recently he's taking a week off every month though, so that's good. Yeah, good call. As a lot of you know, my rate of production for Unspoiled, I really have no fucking reason to be like talking shit about anybody not taking breaks, because that has been my life for like the past 7 years, and it has caught up with me. And I'm only 37, and it's caught up with me like pretty significantly. And y'all, you just can't sustain that shit. I don't care who you are. There is a point at which your body is just like, I don't think so. No. And it just is whatever the fuck it feels like, because you have been mistreating it. So if you've been getting away with barely sleeping and pushing yourself a lot, just know that comes with an expiration date, and it comes with a price. You will pay it eventually. I promise. So anyway, here we go. The way that this episode starts off is we pick up right after Luffy basically yells at Vivi and is like, are we friends or not? Are you going to like let us die with you or put our lives on the line? He doesn't say, are you going to let us die with you? But really that's like the implication here. And what in the last episode of coverage, I was frustrated by the fact that it felt like we reached a conclusion about how everybody is here to help that we had already reached. And then here it starts off with like her saying, Luffy's right. You know what? I'm not going after the rebels anymore. I'm going after Crocodile. That was not something that we had already decided. I was very pleased that this was like the development that came, because I genuinely was so like sort of puzzled at the way the last episode was played, and I couldn't understand what I was supposed to be thinking was going on here. Do you know what I mean? And when it starts off with her being like, oh, because he has made me like sort of reframe what my priorities need to be, it has changed my whole plan of action. Okay, then. Yes, that makes total sense. I kind of wish that was how the last episode ended instead, so that I would have had more of an understanding of what this big moment was really meant to be. Because, like I had said, Luffy's been talking about fighting Crocodile. Like, that's not a surprise. But it had been sort of treated like she would let him handle Crocodile while she went and dealt with the rest of like the diplomacy area. And when you stop and really think about it, yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Crocodile's the actual problem here. He's instigating everything. So I really liked this. Oh my God, Ryan, you gain extra time, but you lose health. Sounds like equivalent exchange to me. You know what, Ryan? You are correct. He says wrong anime, I know, but nevertheless, I just started, for those who don't know, covering Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I saw an episode that I'm covering later today with a really adorable young girl and her pet dog. So we'll talk about that, guys. But yeah, no, you are correct, Ryan. Nature is gonna get what it's gonna get in the end. You all think we can get around it? We all think we can fool our bodies and shit. Why do we think this? We're not special. It's just the way things work. But anyway, so the whole crew, basically they turn and are like, all right, we're going to the fucking city where he is holed up with his crew of miscreants out here to, they don't know this yet, but they are going to start working on the bullet points they were each given in their papers that they burned for creating this like utopia. And we still don't know what each of them was assigned to do. That is really interesting to me because Crocodile, he handed out all of their assignments before he knew Vivi was still alive, right? And then when he found out that Vivi was still alive, he was like, oh, well, she has a way to stop the rebellion. We can't let her go and talk to the leader of the rebellion because he's an old friend. Crocodile was assuming, rightly, at the moment, that what Vivi was going to attempt to do was work on the rebels. But I don't know, like, Vivi is... I have a question. Another question. So Vivi was the princess of this country that Crocodile is attempting to sort of take down. But Vivi gets placed in the Baroque works as Ms. What was her? Was she Miss Golden Week? No, that's the other girl. Miss Wednesday? Miss Wednesday. What was it? How did nobody recognize her? She was like a major figure in the hierarchy of this country that Baroque Works is completely focused on at the moment, and nobody knew who she was, and nobody knew who her pal was that also looks extremely distinctive. Like, if it had turned out that he looks the way he looks because that was his elaborate disguise, that would make more sense. But as for Vivi, I mean, she looks pretty much the same. She's just wearing a different outfit. Is this just something that, like, is a thing in anime, like Clark Kent, where somebody puts a pair of glasses on and now nobody recognizes them and you just kind of have to go with it? Because if that's the way it is, I'll go with it. It's fine. But I don't know how much they knew about Vivi being directly involved in Baroque Works and being undercover there. Like, was she undercover really? Or did they not? Or did they, like, because they go after her eventually, like, they figure out who she is, but it seemed as if she had been undercover for a little while by then. Did he just, like, let her think she was safe and, like, you know, fuck with her a bit? Or how? Just general questions. Anyway, okay. So now, Vivi has been convinced by Luffy to not go for the rebels and to go right for Crocodile, which Crocodile was allegedly not expecting her to do. And insisted we can't let her go over there and talk to him. She has to come to me. And he is ready with this, like, whole VIP room situation. And I was a little bit surprised at how prepared he seemed to be for everybody to just show up at his door right away, considering how concerned he genuinely seemed to be about her maybe getting in touch with her old friend. It doesn't really, like, matter. I just thought it was interesting because once she says here, all right, you know what? I'm not going after the rebels. I'm going to go straight to Crocodile and talk to him. I was like, oh, sweet. Crocodile won't be expecting this. What is that going to look like? And it feels like he was expecting it. There's also the fact that their cover is blown so completely. So let me just get to that part. So we have some moments here that I should mention about the water that Luffy was given by the guy by Toto. I am really starting to wonder if there is some significance to this water, because Luffy hasn't finished it, or I don't even know if he's drunk any of it yet. I think that he has been drinking some, but he's pacing himself. And I am genuinely shocked at the fact that he is exercising any sort of restraint, which is also what Nami says. And he gets really mad. And I'm like, dude, you just have no right to be mad in any way at all. I'm sorry, sir. You, like, have you met yourself? Luffy doesn't have any self-awareness. Some people don't. That's a difficult thing to cope with. Both having it and not having it. Difficult things to cope with. So I don't know if this water is going to wind up being meaningful in any way, or if it's just supposed to show us that he can keep himself from doing the most impulsive thing. But I wanted to mention it just in case it turned out that this, mattered in some other more significant way. Because this arc, I expect to go for another, 3 or 4 episodes, probably. It might be longer. I keep, some of the arcs in this show last so much longer than others, so it can be hard to know. I don't even want to make predictions like that, because I feel like if something goes a lot longer than I thought it would, people are going to wonder if I'm impatient with it, and that's not necessarily going to be the case. Speaking of the rebels, there is this little kid who is trying to become part of their fighting force. And he is so certain that he can be one of them and is determined to fight. And I am going to remember this guy's name someday. Voka, Korukova. He's Russian. Whatever his name, the captain, motions for one of his friends to drop the shoulder of his jacket and shows this huge chunk that has been taken out of his upper bicep. And the kid looks really freaked, but tries to recover pretty quickly and be like, well, I'm not scared. I don't mind getting injured. And Koza, thank you, Gus. Koza tells the kid to fuck off and die, basically. And then when the guys later are like, you were pretty hard on him, he says, I was just like that kid, and to be honest, nothing has really changed. Which, honestly, he was pretty hard on that kid, but once he said that, I got it. Y'all, I am sure I'm not alone in meeting a young kid or a teenager who has some of the exact same attitude issues or outlooks on life that I had, and wanting desperately to get them to not make the mistakes that I made when I was in their position. It's like being a ghost and screaming, don't go in there. I swear to God, they're not going to listen to you. Why would they listen to you? You were like that once and you didn't listen because you're positive somebody said this shit to you. And you can't help yourself, though. You have to try and be like, hey, don't. And I have to imagine that, this is why the military goes after people who are so young, because they just don't have their prefrontal cortex fully developed and don't understand the consequences of what they're doing, which is exactly what the military-industrial complex wants. Anyway, so this kid, I have no doubt, is going to turn up and cause some sort of trouble. Either he will cause trouble because he's interfering in shit and is trying to be sly and clever about it because he wasn't allowed to officially join, or he will unexpectedly sort of save the day. ¿Por qué no los dos, actually? He could cause the trouble and then unexpectedly save the day. But I'm going to go with cause trouble because it just feels like this is Chekhov's gun. This is Chekhov's child. And this dude, I have to mention again, I am very drawn to him. As an anime character, I find him very attractive. It's the sideburns. It's the glasses. It's the anger. It's the scarf. I mentioned the scarf last episode. Overall, this dude is pressing all of the intellectual revolutionary buttons, and that's exactly what I'm into right now, is somebody who has this sort of level of commitment, but also frustration. I'm just overall, I'm very, very here for it. And I don't want to see him I don't want, if they get to sidestep having a revolution altogether, a rebellion, I don't want him to suddenly change into like a softer looking version of himself. I want him to stay like this, but apply that in some sort of like very productive way. Maybe he could become like a poli-sci professor or something. I don't know. But anyway, I just had to mention that because when we see him again in the scene, I was like, all right, let's see what this guy's got. And honestly, I thought he handled it really well. And what he tells this kid is essentially like, you shouldn't want to fight. None of us wants to do this. And we are all afraid. So you saying that you're not afraid isn't the selling point that you seem to think it is. Which I genuinely wish that was something that was like acknowledged a little bit more in general, that being unafraid is kind of an indicator that you aren't ready. Like, it's you should be though. You really should though. So then we go to the palace. And I have to be honest, you guys, I was waiting for one of these two dudes to be revealed as a traitor. And I don't know still that the other guy isn't. So there are two men. There's one guy in a like blue pop-collared cloak situation. And he's got the can I speak to a manager haircut going on a little bit, which is just too bad. And he is the one that, as of right now, isn't exonerated completely from suspicion. And then we've got the other dude who's wearing a black and white sort of starburst pattern, or like the cartoon stars in the sky sort of pattern, that like weird elongated diamond sort of shape. He's got like a sort of headdress or a bandana, I'm not really sure what I want to call it, wrapped around his head, and purple either like paint or tattoos on his face, like coming down from his eyes, and his skin is extremely pale, and he's got a similar like star pattern on his white robes, and he's wearing the kinds of like big wooden beads that I associate with like prayer. I always think of it as something that like a Buddhist monk would use, but also we do have in Catholicism the old rosary, but they're too big for that. And this dude, as we find out later, and I don't recall either of these dudes' names, so forgive me, everybody. It turns out that he ate the bird fruit. Is that right? Did I say that? I feel like it. This is the thing with these fruits, is that every time I say them out loud, they sound so silly that I'm like, that can't be right. But I think that's it. And so he can fly. And if I'm not mistaken, he's straight up killed in the next episode. I don't know if it might be that he is only just really, really badly injured, but I got the impression that he was dead. If he's not dead, I will be pleased. But because he seems like he's got a really cool power and he's very loyal, and considering the way that they've been like betrayed over by like hundreds of people at this point, I'm not mad at somebody who actually has Vivi's back. Gus says Chaka and Pell. And is Pell the Birdman or is Chaka the Birdman? But yeah, this guy is, honestly, there's something very intimidating about his whole look, which I feel like if you told me what he looked like, the sound of it, I would be like, that doesn't sound at all imposing. And seeing him for a moment, I was like, what is going on with this dude? And then, I don't know, it started to get at me. I feel like when you've got a really simple color scheme, and he's got the black and white almost exclusively, and his skin being as pale as it is as well, And then he has like the purple paint on his face, and that's almost the only color of any kind going on other than like his weapon. That is a very high impact look, and I feel like if you go for a high impact look like that, it's going to be more effective. So I went from being like, what is up with this dude, to quickly going, ooh, actually, he's a tiny bit scary. And the other guy with his popped collar, his weirdo haircut, which he even has like bangs. He has a gold necklace around his neck, and a lot of his chest is showing because it's a really deep V-neck on the shirt that he's wearing. There was something about him that from the waist up just said Saturday Night Fever so hard to me. Waist down, not at all. Not even a little bit. It's not like that's the theme. Like, because, you know, some of the characters that we've met, they clearly have like a theme going on. And a 70s kind of look would not, you know, not be out of place for the show at all. And so when I first saw his like hair and shoulders and collar, I really expected to get something like that. And it's not. Once the camera continues down, he's wearing like robes and a pair of like really simple slip-on shoes, and it's just completely not there. So Pell is the Birdman. Okay, thank you, Gus. So these dudes are talking to the king, and they are extremely frustrated over the fact that they feel like they need to make a move and deal with these rebels. And if they don't, they could like attack and take over the entire palace. And they don't understand why the king is holding back the way that he is. And the king, for his part, is just like, I don't want to put people's lives at risk for a building. They haven't made a move yet. We don't know what they're going to do. And I understand his position and I admire it, you know, to a point, but also I understand that you consider it just a building, but there is something to be said for power lies where people believe it lies, as Varys would say in Song of Ice and Fire. And if you lose your palace, I don't see you coming back from that, sir. So while it may feel frivolous, if you really think that you're the person to lead, take that seriously. You know, I just felt a little bit like with him the same way that I feel with Vivi, where it's, we got to strike a balance here between having compassion and playing the long game and having foresight about the fallout of making certain choices, and also doing what's actually like politically smart. Because acting as if politics is just not a factor is living in a dream world. It works because it works, you know. Nevertheless, he gets this letter from Carew, who shows up. Carew is on the ground drinking barrels of water, which we see Luffy and Usopp doing later also. And guys, I would like to register my formal retraction of the shit talking I did about Vivi sending him this note. I was certain, positive, this was going to go badly. I was so sure. I maintain that it's almost feeling like a missed opportunity in a way. However, it's fine. I will acknowledge I made with full confidence a prediction that I was so sure was going to be something, and it's just turned out to be nothing. So he gets this note. Both of these dudes here seem to be actually like loyal subjects and advisors, and they are really cut up to find out that their compatriot Cogsworth has died. And the king, for his part, is just stunned that Crocodile is the one behind everything. And it's just like, I swear to God, I never even considered that it was him. Which I did kind of admire that he doesn't say anything like, of course, it all makes sense. It's more, I can't believe that I never even thought of it. I feel like a fucking idiot. He says like, I stupidly believed XYZ. And you know what? I kind of appreciate that. Because whenever somebody just jumps to like, of course, all the pieces are falling together, it feels like the show wants to sidestep that somebody has been being fooled for a minute. And I don't mean the show like this show. I mean, in general, a lot of like fiction will just like smooth roll right past the fact that somebody has been being conned and act as if like, oh, they're putting the pieces together now. They just got told, literally told, given the information. They're not putting shit together. They are being given the answer. And so this dude just being like, oh my God, I fucking took his word for it and never even considered that he was behind any of this. And I appreciate that, how frustrated he is with himself. There is nothing quite like realizing that some shit that had never even occurred to you is what's going on, because it's just, there are times where you have like a gut feeling about something and you kind of ignore that gut feeling, and then later you look back and you're like, man, if I had listened to my gut, what could have been different? And there's something about that gives us the illusion of being in control of the situation. Like, if I had just paid attention to this feeling, maybe I could have kept this from happening. But when you had straight up no idea, there's something real scary about that. And it's not something that the people around you want to hear you say when you're in a leadership position, that like, oh my God, I never saw this coming. So, you know, I don't know. I just kind of liked it. I didn't expect him to react this way. And he says, and he's continuing to read the thing, and she's talking about, there are people who have given me power and have brought me to the understanding of what I need to do, and we can definitely stand up to this guy. And you have to keep the faith, Dad. We're definitely going to be able to pull this off. And he seems like so touched by this. It was actually pretty sweet. I also love when he's like, oh, Karoo, you fought valiantly. And Karoo is just like passed out on barrels of water. And this guy, Chaka. Okay. Thank you, guys. Chaka sees Karoo's wing, and he sees the bandage that's wrapped around it and thinks that Karoo got hurt. But Karoo like squawks at him when he tries to remove it. And we're given a little bit of a flashback to remind us that Mr. 2 is still a threat because he can impersonate any of our friends. So we have to keep these things tied on our arms so that we know when we're dealing with an imposter, potentially. So I appreciated that reminder, because I completely forgot that they had set up that, what's the word I want? Signal, I guess? That sort of, I can't think of the word I want. But this leads the king to being like, oh, okay, see, we didn't need to deal with the fucking rebels. We need to deal with Crocodile. And as he's talking to these guys, there's this moment that I got so confused by, and I had to rewind it. This dude is saying, I'm holding a war meeting, assemble the officers, Pell, go conduct reconnaissance. And Chaka says, it seems we've been severely underestimating His Majesty. What a powerful spirit. And see, that we is what makes me go, like, I think he's just talking about him and Pell and the fact that they were discussing with each other their frustration. But there was a feeling to it also, like it could be we were underestimating him as the Baroque works. I don't think so, but it's, you know, it's not completely out of the question. And I just like the fact that both of these men have this moment of like, we almost made a really bad decision. And by like staying our hand, he has been proven right in his approach to this. And there is definitely some increased respect from them. So yeah, the king says he's sending all the soldiers to Rain Base, which I can't get over the fact that it's called Rain Base. It's honestly just hilarious to me. So we have our friends reaching the city, and Luffy and Usopp are the ones that are dealing the worst with the thirst issue, and they head to this bar and just go for it with barrels of water without actually having any money, and they wind up bailing pretty quickly as well, and they stick Captain Smoker and what is her name? Iyagi? Fuck. I am so sorry, guys. I feel like I'm so much worse with the names on this show than on any other show I cover. There are so many characters, though. Like, truly, there are a lot. So I guess I can give myself a little bit of a break, but it's just frustrating to feel like every time I go to talk about anybody, I don't know who. But anyway, yeah, she and Captain Smoker are sitting at the bar just as Usopp and Luffy roll up and start chugging water. And they don't notice the two of them are right there until they begin to make a ton of noise drinking all this water. And you see Smoker just slowly turn his head, and then Usopp and Luffy look at him. And there's just this moment of weird eye contact where Usopp and Luffy's mouths are full, and so their cheeks are bulging out as they stare, until finally they just kind of lose their cool and spray water all over the two of them, which was really just awful. So, guys, I have told you about how different the English subtitles are from the English dubs in terms of wording. And most of the time, the subtitles are a lot more formal. And then every now and then, this one for Chopper, he, in the dub, says, "I'm going to go use the little boy's room," which I really expected somebody to make a crack about, but nobody does. And in the subtitles, it says, "I need to take a leak." And I did not go and check. You know what? I'm gonna go back 10 seconds, and I'm gonna put this on the Japanese subtitles and see what it is he says in the Japanese subtitles, because I'm just curious. Like, in the Japanese subtitles, it's, "I need to take a leak." I'm surprised that because they have no problem with the like kick his ass or, you know, the use of the word bastard. We even have Sanji smoking in this one. So I am surprised that they decided to be like a little bit less coarse with that versus. Oh, Gus says the English subtitles are the Japanese subtitles. They are the same. Oh, Gus, I didn't even realize that they were the exact same. This whole time I wasn't aware that that was like all it was. I figured that the ones that I was seeing were from the original dub and that they just didn't update them because they were, I don't know. Okay. So when I'm reading, I get much more of the impression that makes sense why it's so much more formal, because it's being translated in a way that sounds stilted to my American ear. Okay. All right. That makes a lot more sense. Thank you, Gus. I thought, just as I'm checking, that it was just one moment that they happened to match up, but I never did a full, like, you know, watch through of both episodes to see. So this is the start of them getting separated. Chopper goes to use the bathroom. Luffy and Usopp have gone to get water, and I figured that they would not meet back up again. I was wrong. There's also Zoro getting frustrated and like he keeps falling asleep and tuning out and whatnot. It's honestly so much more fun. He sounds so much like, and I know it's not the same voice actor, but he sounds like the guy who plays Putty in Seinfeld, and who was also in Emperor's New Groove, the poison for Cusco, the poison specifically for poisoning and killing Cusco. So these dudes are after Luffy and Usopp, the entire Marine force. And I love how Nami's always just like, I don't understand why they are running toward us when they are being chased by somebody. And what kills me about that is that I would 100% do the same thing that Luffy is doing. The idea of, well, don't lead them straight to us is very logical and makes a lot of sense. And the fact that I immediately would definitely go back to my compatriots in a panic, it makes me question my own judgment a little bit. I am apparently not somebody that you want to embark on an illegal enterprise with, guys, because I will just pull the fucking authorities right straight to you. So keep that in mind, everybody. I'm not to be trusted. So this is the big chase where everybody gets split up. And there is this amazing moment where Zoro is about to show down. We get Sanji and he's kicking a bunch of asses. There are so many moments for everybody to shine. And Zoro cannot get himself to fight this girl that looks like his old friend from childhood. He just can't do it. And he says something to her about hiding, like, why don't you just hide your face for me? And she takes that as this like insult to her appearance, when in fact he just means like, I would have no problem going up against you if you didn't look like her. And I found this so funny that it's just this misunderstanding that makes him seem simultaneously like he does not deserve the reputation he has, and also that he's like weirdly immature to make a comment like that in the midst of a fight. I want to see them actually fight again and see how that goes. But I love this weird relationship that they have with each other where she doesn't even understand really what's happening. So Luffy, Nami, and Usopp are in the casino at this point. And Usopp and Nami have to like stop Luffy because he's just standing inside the like front doors screaming, "Crocodile, where are you? Come out." And then they realize that they can't find Vivi, and they all just go back to yelling for him, and security is looking and just like, all right, we are going to have to go and deal with this guy. And they begin to run away because they see Captain Smoker coming. And Smoker is, as a government agent, apparently not allowed in the casino, which I don't know if this is like an actual law anywhere. Like it might be in the US, because I know that usually casinos are owned by indigenous people. So it might be that that is a rule in our country that I'm just not aware of. But they try to stop him and tell him that he isn't allowed here. And he straight up throws these two security guys out of his way. He is so huge. Every time he's next to a regular sized dude, I'm just like, oh, right, this guy's fucking gigantic. And eventually this oh my God. Miss Cowboy Hat. She tells security, actually, boss has been expecting these guys, so send them to the VIP room. And I love the whole vibe of them being sent to the VIP room. It's a pink carpet with like the gold little pillar things to hold up the velvet rope, and these people in tuxes and formal wear throwing rose petals to lead the way into the VIP room. Guys, I know that it is such a marketing ploy, and I know how pitiful it is, but I really, really want to be in on a like VIP experience of some kind somewhere. And I don't mean the kind of VIP experience where you pay for it, because, you know, you can get like concert tickets with like pay for extra for VIP. I want to be just like powerful enough that I walk into a place and I'm well known enough that they're just like, oh, clearly you don't belong with these, this rabble. I want to put you somewhere up to your standards. I just think it would be extremely disappointing in the end. You know, probably in a lot of ways, it's just like, oh, we're going to put you in like a smaller room away from people. And to a point, I can see the appeal of that. But also when you're going out, like, is that what you want, to just be away from everybody? I don't know. Oh, right. Gus says it's because crocodiles are warlords, so the government isn't allowed to interfere with his operations. I did forget about that. Thank you, Gus. So they run in, and there are two signs, which I found extremely fun. It says, go right for pirates and go left for VIPs. And reminder, as they're running down this hallway, they are still being chased by Captain Smoker. And Usopp says, obviously we go to VIPs. And Luffy says, but we're pirates. Like, that's ridiculous. Of course we have to go this way. And nobody really disagrees with him. It's when they turn the corner that Zoro is like, well, and they stop because it's a dead end and a trapdoor opens and they just fall right through. And I love everybody's like screaming except for Zoro, who's calmly folded his legs and like folded his arms and seems totally unfazed by all of this. And then we've got poor Chopper trying to figure out where the fuck everybody went, because he just went to take a pee and then came out and they're all gone. And he runs into the girl with the navy and accidentally trips her because he's so short that she didn't even see him. And her glasses fall off. And it's this weird moment of like her freaking out about where her glasses are, Chopper looking through the glasses that fell onto his face and like panicking about why his eyesight is so weird. And it seems like he doesn't understand that he's wearing the glasses. He doesn't move to take them off. And then finally, like, gets up, puts it together, and hands her the glasses. And she calls him a very kind person, which obviously means something to him. And when he hands them off to her, Sanji is standing there watching. And so we know at least that these two have not gotten got. And she gets her glasses back and runs off, doesn't notice Sanji or seem to realize who he is, and sure doesn't know Chopper because Chopper wasn't with the crew. So, yeah, I really wonder what role she's going to play in all of this, because the fact that she's still here, and it's like the show goes back and forth between sort of treating her like she's a bit of a joke, but then she's like still really good at fighting. I don't really know where we're going to land, but I will say that the moment where she has to pay for Luffy and Usopp's water bill is so funny. Guys, I just love that this show consistently deals with the issue of who's going to pay at restaurants. You know, this is a thing with Luffy's brother as well, that he just walks out without paying. And that is just such a fucking pet peeve of mine in movies and television, where people like walk in and they order shit and then they just leave without paying, or they order something and they don't touch it. And then they just get up and leave, and there's like a full cup of coffee and a full plate of eggs and hash browns. And I'm just like, what the fuck? It drives me nuts. So I just like that that's dealt with in this show. So everybody is locked in this cage. Well, everybody except for Sanji and Chopper. And this is this weird moment where Luffy is looking out through the cage and he begins to fall and says like he feels weirdly weak. And Smoker comes up and presses this like sword. Is it a sword? Because he's pressing the tip pretty heavily into Luffy's chest, but it's not piercing him or anything. So is it like a blunt ended? But yeah, he tells them that the material at the tip of the weapon, he calls it a jute. He says that it is known as the sea Prism Stone, and that it has the same properties as the sea. And for some reason, in people who have eaten devil fruit and have devil fruit powers, it has the effect of being in seawater so that they go suddenly completely weak, which I found really interesting. I thought that the only thing about dropping into the sea was that, well, you can't swim, so you wind up drowning because you can't swim. But now it's being presented that it's like a weakening of their body overall, which winds up with the side effect that they can't swim, but isn't the only effect, which I don't know, that makes it feel a lot more threatening to me. Oh, sorry guys, I don't know what that was. Oh, it was my chapstick. Sorry. Feels like that was a really loud. So yeah, all the like cage and apparently other jails are made with this as well to keep prisoners who have devil fruit powers from escaping. And I think I had asked about like, how do you keep people who have these powers inside? Because like he could be making himself into smoke and just slide right the fuck on out of there. And this is a pretty neat Achilles heel for these guys, you know? So at this point, here comes Crocodile with his smug smile. I really love that Vivi specifically references how smug he looks. And he says to Smoker, essentially, you were one of the only people who knew that I was not on your side. And I'm going to have to give you some sort of like unfortunate accidental death. I'll inform the government that you fought well. And meanwhile, outside, we've got Vivi, and she's fighting off a bunch of Baroque Works guys. And she's using these spinning weapons that I keep forgetting she had when they first like go up against her back when she's pretending still to be one of these agents. And at this point, she is pretty much dead to rights. They've got her at gunpoint, and it looks like there's simply no way out of this. And then all of a sudden, caw, and here comes her savior, Pell, the Birdman, swooping in, and he like shoots a sort of laser. It's unclear to me exactly, like, is it actual bullets? Or is it some other material? It looks like from the ground like it's lasers. They call it a machine gun, but I couldn't tell how accurate that was. And his face has transformed into like a beaky bird face. And it's so funny because Vivi sees him and I sort of expected her to be like, what the fuck? And of course she knows who he is and she gets this big smile on her face. And I was like, the doy, she knows who the fuck this dude is. And he is very happy to see her too. And it was honestly kind of touching, the two of them like being reunited here, and especially in the midst of her moment of need. So then it looks like we've all got this squared away. She's been saved. I've got to go help the others. And here comes Miss All Sunday to ruin everything. I really do enjoy her a lot, though. Like, I don't know. I just really find her fun. It's just her whole aesthetic is ridiculous. And it turns out her ability is that she can sprout limbs from all over her body. And so she's able to give this impression that she has killed Vivi, because it looks like she puts her arm right through Vivi's torso. And when she says, I can sprout arms, and says like, oh, you thought I'd killed her. I didn't mean to give you that impression. I was like, I don't understand. You can sprout arms from everywhere, but your arm was coming out of Vivi. So what the fuck? I didn't realize that she meant like, I can sprout arms from you. Which truly, I just feel like that's so unfair. I think she has to be touching you for it to happen. But that's just incredibly creepy. I think out of all of the devil fruit powers that we have seen, this is like the most unsettling one so far. I don't like this at all. Gus says from any surface she can see. That's so much worse. So we got to blindfold her or put her eyes out or something. Like, Christ's sake, I do not care for this. It's just, can you imagine her limbs sprouting out of your body? It would be such a violation. I doubt it. No, thank you. So that's all going on. And, eventually, she brings Vivi to the cage where all of our friends are. Nami is getting so frustrated with them because they are just like hanging out and joking around with each other because they just don't really have anything else to do. And she's like, I can't believe you guys are dicking around. And I'm honestly of the same mind as them, where I'm just like, I'm going to try and keep my spirits up however I can. There's nothing else to do. We're just hanging out in a fucking prison cell. And we'll joke around. That's fine. Vivi walks in here and she goes to attack Crocodile right away. And she's saying, if you hadn't come here, everything would have remained peaceful. It would have all been fine. And it looks like she takes his head off right away. But as soon as she does that, it goes to Smoker, who just has no expression and says it's no use. And then Zero just disappears as a cloud of sand and reforms behind Vivi and with his like hand over her mouth. He ate the sand fruit. And so the whole thing where he is able to turn people into mummies is part of his like sand power, which I have to be honest, kids, I am not totally buying this one. It's fine and I will let it go because it works for what we're doing here. But personally, disappearing into a sand as a sand fruit person makes total sense. That I can accept completely as a function of the sand fruit. But just inherently being able to dry people up into husks because of your control of sand. Sand doesn't just do that. It's a function of a complete lack of moisture. And it's not like we see that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I felt like this was a little bit of trying to make something out of his power that was much more effective in terms of like the actual combat aspect, because otherwise his power is a little bit too passive. And I don't know. I don't really feel it now that we know what it's allegedly supposed to be. And he gets Vivi and tells her that he's going to wipe Alabasta from the face of the earth. All people, big and small, will be sucked into eternal darkness as they writhe in pain. Let Operation Utopia commence. And I'm like, well, wait, how is that good for you? I'm not getting why this is a utopia for him. What's up with that, guys? Like, that doesn't feel like a utopia for anybody. Why does he want this? What is he getting out of it? So I have to wrap because I'm way over time as usual. But yeah, there's still, I still have a lot of questions. So I'm looking forward to the next episodes and finding out what the hell's going on here. Because he has clearly shared his plan with his compatriots, and they seem to be on the same page as him. So they seem to want this as well. And I just don't see what there is to want out of that. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. All right, so I'm going to wrap up. Thank you, Gabby, again for commissioning this episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you all for hanging out in the chat and feeding me names as usual. And until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.